let's show you how the pieces move. Let's first see how the rooks here. These rooks, let's see how these rooks move. Okay, so we have our rook in position. Let's see, what can this rook do? Well, let's see how this rook can move. These gray dots are where the piece can move. So, as you can notice, this rook here can move straight. So, straight, 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 and straight. However, why is there a circle on this pawn? Well, I'll explain why in just a few moments after we learn how the pieces move. So ignore the circle against this pawn right for now. So this rook can move here, 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 and stay where it is. So these are the squares that this rook can land on. So it can move here, 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 here. You get the idea. So you can easily tell that rooks move straight. Yay, we learned how our first piece moves. So let's see. Let's give you a quiz. Can this rook here move to this square? Bing, bing, bing. If your answer is no, then you are correct, because rooks move straight, not diagonally. That's a different piece that we'll explain later. So that's how the rooks move. That is for all the rooks, just saying. I know I haven't pulled out these guys yet, but it's the same thing. Just two are black and one is the same thing. So let's do the next one. Can this rook move here? Bing, bing, bing. If you said yes, then you are correct, because this square is straight from the starting position, which is e4. So this rook can move to e6. So yes, but how do we remember all the pieces? Well, there's a simple thing you can do with rooks. So enough of chit-chatting about rooks. Let's go back and learn how the bishops move. The ones with the tiny top hats here. The top hats. So let's get a bishop in action. Okay, wait. We have our bishop in action. Here's our bishop. So what can the bishop do? Well, the bishop moves diagonally. These arrows will show you what diagonally is. Pretty much, this bishop here can move all ways that are diagonal. So it can move to quite a lot of squares. All of these squares. Or it could just stay here. So this bishop can move to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 squares in this position at c4. So if you put a bishop on c4, it can move to 10 squares. Yay, 10. So let's give you the quiz. Can this bishop move here? Bing, 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 boom. This bishop can't move here. First of all, because it's very far away from the bishop and doesn't go diagonally at all. Another thing with bishops is there is a dark squared bishop or a bishop that is on a black square, or in this case a green square, and there's a bishop on a white square. So the bishop on a white square can always move to other white squares. So, but JediCubing, how can the bishop move here? Well, it can move there in different moves. It'll take 2 moves. So let's say black, we move here. Black does this, and now our bishop is here. It was once here, and like we said before, we want it to go here. So yes, it can move there, but I'm talking about one move. Let's go to the next one. Can this bishop move here? Bing, 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 kabam, kabam. Okay, this bishop cannot move here, even though this is a white square. What I'm saying is it can move there. However, it takes to move. And what I just showed you, like and then like the piece disappeared. I'll explain what that is. That's capturing, like you capture the piece. But let's go on to the next piece. Or let's do one more thing. One more question. Can this bishop move here? Bing, 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 boom. Yes, it can move there because it is diagonally to it. There we go. We've placed our bishop there. So we have moved our bishop diagonally to get there. So now you know how the bishop moves, and it's the same thing for black bishops. Not black bishops like this kind of black, but dark squared bishops. As you can see, it's the same thing. It moves diagonally. So blah, okay. So this bishop here can move diagonally. Diagonally. Yay, we have a bishop. 2 bishops. Yay. Okay. Let's go on to the next piece. The next piece is the queen. So we've discussed the queen before. So as you can see, this queen, like I said before, moves forwards like a rook and diagonally like a bishop. Let me show you what I mean. That might seem like a lot of dots. Like a lot of dots. Like a lot and a lot of dots. And queens can move a lot of places. So they can move diagonally everywhere. And they can also move straight everywhere, just like a rook. So it's a rook plus a bishop. And the queen can just stay here if it wants. These arrows show all the places it can move. So everywhere the arrows touch. So it can move straight and diagonal, in all ways. So that is the queen. Let's see if you figured out how the queen moves now. Can this queen move here? Bing, bing, bing. The answer to that question would be a no. Because queens, like I said before, don't move in an L formation. They don't, I think there's actually a better way to do this. They don't move like this. They move everywhere that is diagonal or straight, just like a rook and a bishop mixed together. So let's do one more question. If this queen here were here instead, here, could this queen move here? Bing, 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 boom. This queen can move here because the queen can move straight. So it can move here. So let's go on to the next piece. The next piece is called the pawns. And I say pawns because there's a lot of pawns. Like I said, there's 16 pawns altogether. 8 are black, 8 are white. On the 7 and 2 file. Okay, so explaining how these guys move is going to be a little confusing. But let's do this. Pawns can move differently than the other pieces. Because pawns, it could move, if a queen were here, it could move here and here. Like, it could move here, and then it could move here. However, for pawns, that's a little different, and it's not actually that. So let's see. this pawn can move here and here. So here and here. So let's move it one step, right? And then I guess this guy also does one step. Okay? Now for the queen, we could go, if the queen were here, and then we move one step, we could go all the way over here. However, that's not the same for pawns. For pawns, it's when this pawn moves, it does not have the accessibility to go 2 steps anymore. So in the beginning, when the pawn hadn't moved, we could move it 2 steps. But since we already moved the pawn, we can only move it 1 step. So that's why I'm going to work very hard to explain this to you. If you still don't understand it, I have a website you can look at. I'll post that in the description. But pawns can move 1 step or 2 steps. They can only move 2 steps in their first move. So this pawn hasn't moved yet, so it can move 2 spaces. But if it really wanted to, it can move 1 space. So that is how pawns move. I'm sorry to say this, but I think that we're only going to be able to cover how pieces move in this one video. We're not going to be able to do 3 lessons like I hoped we would. So yeah, okay. This will be part 1.5, and the other video will be part 2. Okay, anyway, we've discussed rooks, bishops, and partially pawns. So let's continue with pawns. Now, pawns can do this crazy thing, too. If pawns reach to the other side of the board, so like say here, they can turn into pieces. So let me show you what I mean. Let me just do some random moves here. And when the pawn gets here, you have a choice, as you can see. But it can turn into any of these pieces. So it can turn into a queen, a knight, which we haven't discussed how it moves yet, but we will, a rook, and a bishop. So let's choose queen. Now, as you can see, the pawn that had just became a queen magically, because pawns are these tiny, they aren't very powerful like the other pieces. They're just tiny warriors, so they should be given a reward if they get all the way to the other side of the board, which I think is reasonable. I think that's reasonable. I mean, they worked so hard and stuff, even though they're just pieces. If this were a real war, it's real people, real tiny warriors that barely do anything, and thought of the weakest piece. However, they can be granted rewards, like some ordinary people become president and stuff like that. So this pawn here, he was just an ordinary fellow, decided to become president, and he won and everything. Yay, yay, yay. Anyway, that's all of it about pawn. To the 2 final pieces. So next piece you will see is going to be kind of confusing. So let me clip this so I can get the knight out into the board. Then, so the knight is out, and let's see how it moves. So this might be a little crazy. The knight is the most different piece out of all of the pieces. So let's move the knight here. So knights can actually hop over pieces. So let's see how knights move. Knights move in an L formation. So, an L. Why is it highlighting random squares? Anyway, so as you can see, the knight moves in an L formation. It looks like a tiny L. Now, it can move in all directions. L. So, it can move like L, 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 and it can't capture its own pieces, but if these 2 pawns here weren't there, it could go L, L. Or it could just stay here if these 2 pawns would be able to move there. So, yeah, knights are crazy pieces. They can move an L, which gets people confused, and knights are the most confusing piece to me out of the whole board. But you'll get it soon enough. Knights are also powerful for threatening, which we'll also see in the next video. So it's important to keep your knights on the board. Let's do the quiz of how the knights move. Let's just say that one more time. If you think of it, actually, it's kind of like a football goalpost if you watch football. It's like that in a way, but there's no. So that's how the knights move. Let's see if you understood that. If you do not understood that, you can always go to my website, which I will post in the description again. So can this knight here move here? Beep, beep, beep. You can pause this video if you need to, because I'm not going to say all the beeps because we're running low on time. But no, this piece the knight cannot move there, even though it seems like it. It moves 2 steps like forward and then moves 1 step left or right. Okay? However, in this example, if the knight could move here, that'd be 1, 2, 3, and then left or right. So that's not true, because the knight moves 2 like that. However, it could get here in 2 moves. It could go here. This knight moves like this, I guess, and moves here. So let me just show you what happened. Did you just see that when I move my knight, it can still move here? Move here, even though there's a pawn right in front of it? Well, yes, knights can hop over pieces. So, as you can see, it just hopped over these 2 pieces. And if this piece moved here, it just hopped over those 2 pieces. So knights are jumpy, because as you can imagine, in real war, horses will jump over or something because they're animals, you understand? Humans don't hop over humans unless it's leap tag or frog tag or whatever you want to call that. Anyway, when we were saying that, can this knight go here? It can in 2 moves, not 1 move. Let's get down to the last piece, which is the king. Okay, so we have the king on d4, which is a crazy square to put your king on. Because the king, if the king is out in the open like this, you have so low chances to win. But we'll explain winning in a different video. So the king can move to 9 squares unless one of them is blocked. So let me show you something. It can also not move to pieces that are guarded. So these 3 pieces here are being guarded by these 3 pawns. So these 3 squares, did I say pieces? Sorry. These 3 squares are guarded by these 3 pawns. So the king cannot move to squares that are protected. So it cannot move to this square because it's protected. It cannot move to this square because it's protected by 3 pieces. So you get the idea. The king can move anywhere that it is 1 square close to, and it cannot move to squares that are guarded by other pieces, other than its own pieces. So it can still move here, even though this piece is guarding that square. It's the own piece. This pawn wouldn't attack its own king. That makes no sense. But yeah, that is how all of the pieces move. And if you don't understand any of this, I always have my website link in the description. Leave a like and subscribe.